This is the Lockpicker 1969, and welcome to my channel, and welcome to the next episode of Challenge Lock Workshop. Today, we have an interview with a Challenge Lock maker, Craig 3.0. Say hi.
Hi, how you doing, man?
Doing okay. So, how long have you been making Challenge Locks for?
Oh, I started, I think my first challenge lock was for my blue belt,
Yeah.
and that was like 4 years ago. I haven't made a challenge lock in a while. I've been kind of out of the game for about a year or so, but yeah, for a while there, I was obsessed with them.
Okay. So, you want to talk about your blue belt Challenge Lock a little bit?
Sure, yeah, it was. I don't remember what I named it, but it was a pack lock. No, it was a commando lock. Sorry, was it? Okay, no, sorry. I think it was a pack lock, and I milled out the body to fit two half-inch by half-inch by half-inch neodymium magnets. And it also, for some reason, had a commando lock core in there that I just had to make fit. I had to like cut the cam, do the whole trick of like covering the back of the core with like blue Sharpie, just to
Okay.
see like where it's contacting stuff, and then you file or sand it down in the places where it's contacting, and that way you get like a flat engagement.
Okay.
Which is a cool trick. But that way I figured out how to like make the cams match up and managed to get this core fitting in there. But the end result was this lock where it had I actually if I remember this correctly, I did magnetic simulations in FEM, which FEMM is a free program you can use for this. But anyway, there's enough magnetic field going through like the brass core that it would suck your pick to the bottom of the keyway and really screw with feedback.
Yeah, I think I remember you talking about that during your interview.
Yeah.
Okay. That's ringing some bells.
Yeah.
So, did that challenge lock then inspire you to keep creating them?
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Because you said you took a break, so.
Yeah, that the break was recent, but back then I was like, I was really into them. I think I started creating like more normal stuff after that. That was probably that first one was probably my most difficult, I think.
Okay. So, how many did you make? How many challenge locks have you made at this point?
I don't know, honestly. I've been trying to remember. I've made a few that didn't go anywhere, and I've made a few that I have mailed out. I probably three I have mailed out. But a lot of like prototyping and a lot of stuff that just didn't end up being like part of a lock.
Okay. So, experiments.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where Frankenstein didn't make it out of the mad scientist's laboratory.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, you said that the first one you made was the most difficult, I'm assuming, to make. Is it? It's also the most challenging one for the community?
No, I think that was probably the easiest to pick.
Okay.
My most challenging lock, which I unfortunately didn't fix because some life stuff ended up getting in the way, and I stopped making locks after that. But I was working on a best 7-pin SFIC,
Yep.
SFIC, that I custom cut all the pins so they were like higher tolerance than the stock pins. I also tapered all the drivers to random amounts, and I randomly overmilled chambers.
Oh, okay. All right.
So that would have been, I think, the worst possible lock.
A lot of complaints on that one.
I never finished it, but people like DM'd me like "F you, dude" when they heard about the concept, which is how I know it would be bad.
Okay. All right. So, out of the challenge locks you've made, were any of them specifically for certain pickers?
Yeah, I sent a lock to Super Loki for his birthday.
Okay. How did that go over?
It wasn't really anything like supposed to be super tough, but it was a cute little lock. It was a TSA master lock, right? So it was like 3 pins, awful tolerances. I ended up knocking all the pins out of it, reamed all the chambers so they had good tolerances, made new pins. I think all torpedo pin. It was still 3 pins, but I also cut the plugs so the pins went like a couple millimeters lower in it, so you physically couldn't get under the first pin without touching it, which that was a 0 lift. So there was the hard part, right?
Ouch. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was for like a 3-pin lock. It was still like a 5 or 10 minute pick.
Okay.
Which I think is like sort of a badge of honor, right? And I planned to send it to Super Loki, so it was so small, it was like an ounce, right?
Mm-hmm.
That to save on international shipping to Scotland, I packaged it in a birthday card.
Okay.
So I put in a birthday card, put it in an envelope, and just sent it to Scotland. And it turns out it was his birthday. I did not know that. It just ended up being that way.
Good timing.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you sit down, at least when you were making them, what are your inspirations when you sit down to come up with the idea of what you're going to do for a CL? Because you said you experimented and all of that. So what inspires you when you're sitting down to do that?
I'll tell you what. Sometimes, I'll just be reading something, and someone will be like, someone will say something like, I don't have any examples here, but someone will explain like how a lock works, and I'll like misunderstand it, and I'll be like, maybe it works like this, and it turns out it works like a really way simpler place, or way simpler way. And now I'll have like in my mind this new way that a lock could work, and I just sort of like sometimes someone says something that's like, oh, what if that was a thing? How would that work?
Okay.
And like now I gotta go and design that, and like design in my head and figure out like, oh, that could work. Okay. And then I like, yeah.
Okay.
That's kind of what I do.
Okay. So I know I sit down and I just make pins. It's my pin therapy. What is your favorite pin to create?
My favorite pin to create, like just like how satisfying it is.
Yeah,
like
yeah, when you're turning it and you're finishing it up, you're sitting down and you just like it's the one that you just love to make.
Let me think about that. There was this. Let me think. Probably torpedoes, because you get that nice curve going on.
Yep.
Yeah, and then like just trying to make that like the lip like as sharp as possible without like having burr on there is always like a fun little exercise in filing.
I can relate to that one. So when you're doing mods to the core and the cylinder, what's your favorite mods to do?
So the cylinder I haven't played around with much. I haven't modded that too much. The core, I'll tell you, not my favorite. I've never gotten I what's it called? I can't believe I forgot the word for this. Undercutting, undermilling.
Yep. Yeah. To get the pin stuck.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
I've never gotten that to work ever in my life.
Okay.
They make little like wheel burr bits. Those just like chowder the cylinder. I gotta find like a more secure way to do that than like a Dremel.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, probably just reaming it.
Okay.
Like my favorite thing to do is probably reaming the cylinder and the core. And the idea there is that you get a much higher tolerance than stock.
Okay. Yeah, for the undercut, I typically just use a rounded burr bit in the Dremel, but I use the Flexus shaft connected to the Dremel so that you can hold that in your hand and do that, and then use a standard, stock like a key pin to set it down in there to get the exact depth I want. And it's a pin you're going to discard afterwards, but I use that.
That's a good idea. That's really good.
It helps. At least it helps me. I don't know how other people do it. I'm sure they have all their own methods, but that seems to work pretty well. Plus, it makes it nice and smooth, and you don't have these sharp, edges in there that the pins can get messed up in. But anyway, so when you're so are there any special approaches that you take in your work process? I mean, some people plan X first, then work on this next, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I come up with like the high concept first, right, before I ever start cutting, and kind of try to plan it out completely, and then if something like ends up not really working when I'm working on it, then I might have to adjust the design for that. I think that's just anything really. You can do it with any project. But yeah, I try to keep pretty organized, especially with these locks with like lots of little parts, because you hate to have to remake something because like you can't remember where you put it or whatever. I ended up taking a piece of wood and just drilling like 50 or 60 holes in it, and label each of the holes and put your custom pins in that. It's a little bit better than like having a pinning tray, because now you just got a tray on the table that you got to hope your cat never knocks over.
They have these they're like containers with screw-on lids. They're clear, that you can get from like the dollar store, and they just come as a pack, and they stack, so they screw on top of one another to close them all up, and that's how I store all my pins and springs and all kinds of other pieces that you don't want falling on the floor and never finding them again.
Yeah.
So that works pretty good, and they're like $5 for a whole set of them. So,
can I just say my favorite Super Loki story was, and he hasn't been around for a couple of years, but he's an amazing guy. He used to store his pins in medicine containers, like those like daily planner things.
Yeah. Yep.
And he also has a couple of medical conditions, so he ended up swallowing a couple of pins.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yep. Some acid pins made him. I don't know if they're acid, but they made it into his stomach.
Oh no. Hopefully that didn't end badly. All right. So you mentioned the Dremel. What are your go-to tools for making challenge locks?
Drill press is a good one. Just because it's a lot easier to get like a 90-degree hole,
Yep.
Something. And then like for like milling something, I don't own a mill. It's not a good idea to do this, but I did it anyway. Using a drill press for that with like a milling bit, like
Oh.
not a good idea. Don't do it. But they are versatile tools, is all I'm gonna say.
Yeah. Okay. What else?
Let's see. A lathe is nice, but you don't need it. You can get
No.
around that.
Yeah.
I mean, I own a Chinese mini lathe, and it's one of the worst tools I ever bought. So don't go that route.
Yeah. No, I just use a Dremel.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, just use a Dremel, or you can even use the drill press to like turn stuff like that.
Okay.
It's a little bit easier because you don't have a screaming death machine in your hand. You have it's right there. You can take both hands, use like a saw blade, both hands. It's a little more controllable.
Yeah.
For the drill press.
So with the Dremel, I just use a Dremel multi-vise, and you can clamp that thing up, and you don't have your hands on it at all.
Oh, okay.
I did a video on it at the beginning of the Challenge Lock workshop. There's also the it's like a Dremel workstation where you can turn the Dremel. You can also use the Dremel as a drill press with it.
Mm-hmm.
So couple of things to check out if you're
Dremel makes a bunch of those like little plastic things. I never really paid attention to them.
Well, funny story there. I had picked up a Dremel multi-vise like 2 years ago and got it home, and I got it for some project I was going to do and then didn't wind up doing that project, and it just kind of sat there in the box for the longest time. And I was using the Dremel workstation to spin my pins and make my pins. And then I came across, I was reorganizing the shop, and I came across that box, and I'm like, I'm going to take that thing out and see what I can do with it. And sure enough, man, that just allowed me to sit at my actual Challenge Lock bench with the vise connected, and it turns into a regular vise too, so you can use it for a regular vise. But yeah, I mean, it works great. So anyway, so if
I got another good answer for that.
Okay.
You can get these on Amazon, and they're invaluable. For like $12, you can get a diamond plate, just for it's like 150 grit on one side, 600 grit on the other side, and use it for like everything. I use it for those hacksaw blades. I would take them, run them on the diamond plate, and thin them down, and then use that for serrations.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Hey, if you can find the link to that, I'll be happy to throw that in the description for this interview in the video.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
That way people can get their hands on it if they want. Okay, so out of all the tools, though, what's the one tool you'll say, other than the Dremel, that you would say every challenge lock maker should have in their arsenal?
Ooh, yeah, probably that diamond plate. Honestly,
really,
it's so important. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just like screwing with sandpaper is annoying. You have basically an abrasive surface that is flat. And it's pretty important. I use it for even taking like brass stock. You can use it to like really make like a precise you can make the brass like taper down flat or taper down like by an angle. You always know that this is like a flat reference.
Okay. I can see, so if it's diamond coated, that would be great for working with steel pins too.
Oh yeah, it'll grind down anything.
Yeah,
grind down tungsten. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, so last question before we wrap up.
Mhm.
Are there any other challenge lock makers that you take inspiration from or admire their work?
Peace is a madman. Uh,
Yes, he
he
is.
is. I've had one of his locks in, and it was just like, what is he? He's a full time doctor. How is he doing this? He doesn't sleep. I don't think.
He's
Uh,
definitely got some evil things out there.
yeah.
Anybody else?
Uh, there's a few other. There's like Den Brass is pretty prolific. He's been making like hundreds of them. Um, I don't know. It's like I've been out of the game long enough that once in a while I just see like Peace like shows like 6 censored images on like, and it's like new things out, and I'm like, all right, I gotta click on that. What is that? And it's something insane. It's something that shouldn't be in a lock, pushing into something else, and I don't know.
The kitchen sink.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So before we wrap up, is there anything you'd like to say to our audience, perhaps for future challenge lock makers or people considering making them or getting into it?
Yeah. If you ever have a question about how to make something, hop on the LPU Discord. We'll be happy to help you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have a crazy idea in your head, make it. Just do it.
Yep.
It's one of the funnest things you can do.
Agreed. I want to thank you for doing this interview. It's been fun to talk about this. I always love listening to other people's evil. So thank you for that. So I'll go ahead and wrap this one up. If you are a subscriber, thank you. If you are not yet a subscriber, please hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications and all, and hit like on the video. And thanks for listening.